Our ancestors, long before this civilization, understood that we could connect with the earth, that we could speak to the trees and to the winds and to the waters. And now we are waking that back up and learning how to trust ourselves in this beautiful connection with nature. And today's guest is Kerri Daniels, who is a wonderful guide for forming those deep root connections with the earth, with the animals, with nature, with spirit, with the mountains. And I look forward to sharing this with you. Join us to find out more.
Soul Nectar Show, the Soul Nectar Show. You're invited, delighted to discover who you are. Anything is possible if you believe. So join us on this beautiful journey. Soul Nectar Show, Soul Nectar Show, Soul Nectar Show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Soul Nectar Show, that show where we talk about all things essence, where we gather around the campfire and we share our story of connection with that which is greater than us, a great mystery beyond the veil, to those synchronistic moments that lead us inexorably to a new understanding of who we are and what we're doing here on Earth at this time of the Great Awakening. I am your host, Kerri Hummingbird, and I love coming back to the show and having these conversations week after week and bringing new friends to talk with us and to share ideas and combine energies and be conduits of what wants to be birthed here during this time on the planet. And I'm excited today because I actually reached out to this beautiful guest, Kerri Daniels. She's here with us. And I reached out with her on Instagram because I was like, wow, look at what she's doing. She's connecting with the earth. She's connecting with the plants and the animals, and she's asking and she's listening for what needs to be birthed, what needs to be shared, what message needs to be shared on behalf of those who don't speak on the planet. And it got me really thinking about how much of our human day is spent thinking about our own challenges, our lessons, our content, our lives, our jobs, our families, the world, politics, all of these human created systems and things. And we live, in a greater context than being human. We live in a greater context. We live in a context that includes a lot of other life forms beyond us. Yet we are driving the experience of being on this planet almost exclusively human beings, creating that experience for a lot of other life forms that don't necessarily get a say in what we're doing. And as you know, many of you know, we are all about sustainability here on the podcast and connecting in with Mother Earth. As a matter of fact, my last book was Inner Medicine, Becoming One with Mother Earth for the Survival of Humanity. And really for the survival of not just humanity, but all species. Because in the past, when things have gone awry, there's been resets, and necessarily so, to reset the planet conditions so that life can thrive again. And we're on the precipice of a potential reset, but we have this really awesome opportunity right now to press pause and to redirect our course in a beneficial direction, not only for ourselves, but for all of life on the planet. We have this beautiful opportunity right now. And we have this opportunity through our divine connection, through our awakening to our divinity, through our awakening of who we are in truth. We can actually step into life in a whole new way that could divert that reset, because we're actively choosing to reset ourselves and changing ourselves to be more in alignment with sustaining life on the planet. And so when I saw Kara and the messages that she was putting out on Instagram, I was like, oh yeah, I need to talk to this blessed being. I need to know her more. And so I invited her for a conversation. And so Kara Daniels, she's the founder of Deep Root Connections, a place where earth, animals, nature, and spirit are all intertwined, alive, and communicating. She is an interspecies communicator, channel for nature, and collaborates with the spirits of the land to heal the land we live upon. And her goal is to co create, coexist, and heal Mother Gaia by mixing the physical with the mystical, live a magical life, and help you to do it too in the most down to earth way. And so I'm so grateful for the work that you do in the world, Kara, and I'm grateful to have you on the podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I feel like we're kindred spirits and we will have such an amazing conversation today. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm really excited. It was interesting because this morning, because I have a very full day, and this morning, as I pulled the cards, it was deep quiet. And I was like, how is that going to happen? But I just say yes to it. And then immediately one of my interviews for the afternoon dropped off. And I was like, oh, okay. We need more spaciousness. Like it doesn't need to be so full, right? It doesn't need to be so jam-packed because then we're missing out on something really, really important that we could be present with. And I feel like you have some of the answers to that. So let me know a little bit, let's share a little bit with the audience about you. Like, how did you wake up to what you're doing right now? What was some of your pathway?
Sure. I mean, my pathway, it's been a lifelong journey, as many of us experience when we have our own awakenings and figure out what our soul is truly asking of us. So I will make this brief, summarize my life in a short minute or two. I will start when I was really little. When I was about 6 years old or so, my imagination was so active, and I lived in an urban environment, lots of cars and sidewalks, and your suburban typical neighborhood, if you will. And I just remember wandering the neighborhood, talking to all of the little spiders and the ants and sampling. This is not recommended, mind you, but sampling some of the foliage that I found along the way. Luckily, nothing was toxic. That was just who I was, walking around barefoot. I'd never combed my hair, and I definitely was the child in the neighborhood that didn't totally fit in. I would rather play with my backyard animals, play with the wind versus, I don't know, hide and seek or whatever. And so just ever since I can remember, that's been what my soul has asked me to be, just curious and connected to nature. And I was really lucky. I had two parents that were teachers and adventure enthusiasts. And so every summer we would go camping for like 4 to 5 weeks and just hang out in the mountains. And so I was really fortunate that I have always had an opportunity to stay connected to nature, which is just where my soul thrives. That led me into wildlife biology and conservation formally, which was not a very good fit. I tried really hard, really hard.
Why is that? Why is that? It wasn't a good fit.
It wasn't a good fit because, well, I wanted to do wildlife rehabilitation. That was my goal ever since I was little, and I was told over and over again that it's not a real job. You can't make a living doing that. And I sort of gave up on that notion and went into thinking I was going to be a biologist. And when I started doing wildlife research, I didn't like the protocols. I thought there were less invasive ways that we could do the research. So that pivoted me into more conservation, learning about wildlife habitat restoration, which then led me to outdoor education, especially with children. It's been a whole background in wildlife, but my whole goal there was to stay connected to the earth, to the animals. I've always had this really intense call to work on behalf of the land, of the wild ones. I just didn't know how to channel that energy. And so after Oh, many, many years in that space. I just couldn't take it anymore. None of the jobs I took worked out. And I had a few mental moments where I had anxiety attacks, severe depression, and I at one point just had enough. I was done. I sat in my car, I cried, I yelled at the universe, and I said, why am I so passionate about something that clearly is not meant to be? And I was like, I give up. Like, either take this away from me or give me the pathway forward because I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And even just talking about that now, my heart's like crying a little bit. So after that moment of complete surrender, that's when everything really started to click in for me. That's when a stray cat came into my life. A coworker just said he needed help. A cat showed up and he didn't know what to do with her. And I kept her for a little while. She ended up having babies with me, and she was the first animal that very directly communicated with me. It was one of those moments that, without a doubt, I knew that this cat spoke to me. And I have always had one foot in the spirit world. I've hired animal communicators before and mediums. So for me, I thought I had to be special to have that happen for me. And then this cat spoke to me. She told me her name. And I was like, yep, I'm going to go figure out how to do that again. I want to do this with intention and see what happens. And at this point, I just started reading books. I was binge listening to every spiritual podcast I could get my hands on or ears on. And I started practicing. I was tinkering with the Akashic Records, animal communication, just whatever I could try at that time. I was in a space of investigation. After that, I just fell in love with communicating with animals. And so I opened up my business as an animal communicator. And there's like a whole backstory to that, which we don't have time for today, but I wanted to help pet parents connect in with their animals, especially in that transition phase from life to death. I find that to be such a sacred time. And so I did that for a while, about a year, really gaining my confidence, making connections, and then the animals could feel my restlessness within my soul. And they said, your heart's not in it anymore. I even had a cat reject a conversation with me because she was like, I only want to talk to people that have their heart in it and yours isn't. And I had to refund my client. I was like, okay, thank you for calling me out. And what was happening at this time was I was getting restless. I could feel the trees calling me. I felt very disconnected to nature. And I was like, okay, I accidentally created an office job for myself, which was not the point. And so I tuned into some of my animal guides. One of my horses, who was in spirit, said, it's time for you to go find yourself a tree guide. And I was thinking, what is that? I don't
What does
understand
that mean?
I don't understand what you mean.
What are you talking about?
Exactly. And he was like, you will know, just take yourself on a walk, ask for a tree guide to come to you, and you'll know what to do. And I was like, I don't think that's accurate, but okay, let's do it. Took myself on a walk. And I was like, I have like a 5-mile walk planned. We'll just enjoy the day. I set my intention to connect in with a tree if there happened to be one that wanted to be my guide. It took about 100 steps, maybe. And all of a sudden I could feel the energy of a tree calling me kind of on my right hand side. I was like, ooh, I'm feeling something here and it feels very piney. So I looked over and there was a single tree in the middle of this meadow. And I was like, that's cool. I'll come back to it later, after I'm done with my agenda. So I took a few more steps and I was like, no, I need to right now. And so I walked down this little hill. I sat with this tree and then I thought, I don't know what I'm doing or how to connect in with a tree. Can trees even talk? And I was like, okay, I'm going to just try as if it's an animal, right? Same process. Immediately, this tree being came into my space and he was like, I didn't know that you would hear me, but I was trying so hard to call you in. And we both wept because it was like one of the most incredible heart-opening moments that we both felt. He was like, I haven't talked to a human in so long. And I was like, well, I've never talked to a tree. So this is really cool. And we had such a beautiful conversation. And he said, I'm going to start teaching you how to commune with nature beings and then start working with the energies of the land to clear the land. And I was like, yes, I'm in. And it was like game over from there. I just fully immersed myself into communicating with all the trees I could, rocks, the mountains started coming to me. I started learning about land healing, and it was my path forward, and I just could not get enough of it. And all of these questions I wanted to ask the trees. And then that's actually what put me onto social media. I had been interviewing trees for about a year. And then they said, well, are you going to share our messages ever? And I was like, absolutely not. And I'm not
That would
okay with
make me crazy in the real
that.
world.
I know, I was like, I can't do that. I mean, we live in a society right now that if you talk to a tree, you're labeled insane or schizophrenic. And they were like, but we need somebody to help us, help other people reconnect or confirm their connections. And at that point, I'm just following spirit's guidance. I trust the process. And so I had to work through my own fear regarding that. And one day I made a video and I kind of just ripped the band-aid off. I posted it and then I went and turned everything off. I didn't know how it was going to be received, and it went viral and it was insane. And I was like, there are so many people out there that need this. So many people messaged me, like, I do this too, and I didn't know there were other people out there. Or let me share this profound experience I had with a tree. I was like, oh my gosh, like these stories are incredible. And so that kind of helped me gain my confidence to keep going and exploring, and here we are today.
Beautiful. Yeah, I just flashed across my awareness the movie Avatar, where they connect in with the tree, right? And it's like, well, of course, because trees are all connected into the mushroom mycelial network under the earth. And so they're like the I don't know, they're like guardians or something, or portals also of tapping into Mother Earth's intelligence and that sort of nervous system, I guess you could say, of Mother Earth, like the nervous system. But tell us more about it, because we have the tree of life, right? So like we all know, maybe we don't all know, maybe I should make assumptions. There's like the tree of life, right? And it can be a portal for venturing down into the lower world and communing with ancestors and beings of light that support us, through this life journey that we're on right now. But we can also travel to the upper world, and we can, through the leaves and the branches, and, we can commune with ascended beings, higher than this dimension. So the tree actually is quite a profound um, being in this dimension, right? And it's so interesting to me that I just feel like they must be really wise souls, because they agreed to be in these bodies that can't affect any real change on humans, and they're kind of at our mercy. What an amazing being of love to say yes to that configuration.
Yes, they are so full of love. If anybody ever wants to feel unconditional love, find a tree. It will bring you to your knees. And they do. There's so many different personalities with trees too, which I find is so interesting. But they all share the same thing, that they are here to help people connect in with the land, to anchor in higher consciousness and to Gaia. They're a direct connection to Gaia. They're one of the easiest ways to connect in with the goddess herself, which is something that I find just so transformative with my students. Is like, you can talk to the mountains or the spirit of the sky, the wind, but it's the trees that really help people anchor in and receive Gaia's intelligence.
And interestingly enough, they also produce most of the oxygen that we breathe. And so they're also keeping us alive.
Yes.
So we
Yeah.
have to take care of them. because they help us get oxygen and also so much more than that. So, now that you just as an, I want to go into some of the more mystical experiences that you've had and some of the messages that you've gotten. I totally want to cover that. And I also want to ask you just briefly, you're living in the world, right, where it's based on capitalism in the United States. And we have to pay for our place to live and we have to pay for food. And it's like everything requires money. Just to live requires money. Now, I don't think this is the way it's going to be going forward on Earth, but that's the way it is right now. And so how do you manage that? Where does your money come from? Like, how do you manage that with what you're doing for your spirit work?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Money and I have had a really interesting relationship, actually. That's one of my wounds that I am currently healing. It is complicated because I feel like connecting in with nature, connecting in with all of the beings of the land is number one, something everybody can do. It's just a matter of learning how to and giving yourself permission to do so. And so I personally have a lot of free resources out there for people to get started. But I do charge for my classes and some of my one-on-one sessions, my healings and things like that, just to sustain my life and help me have an appropriate energetic exchange with people working with me, right? There's something that I learned regarding that. I used to give everything away for free, and that ended up depleting me energetically. I actually couldn't do my work anymore, and I got very sick because I was giving away so much and devoting my life to this. And I didn't realize, silly me, that there has to be an appropriate energetic exchange, whether that is through money or some other means. And so, it's just that balance of living in the 3D world, unfortunately. I would love a world where everybody had their role and traded services and money wasn't a thing. And I do see that coming in the future, but for now it's not.
Yeah, and the reality is that you have to sustain your life. You have to be able to,
Yep.
have a home to live in and of some kind and food to eat and yeah, we're living in an environment where a reality right now where we've commoditized everything and it all requires money. So, which, I feel like we're going to decide to change in the future and we're in the process of that, right? But in the meantime, there's this little bridge window of time where we've got to open up our spirit work and also, and I always like I also feel that, that Aini, that right relationship. Aini is a word that means right relationship in the Quechua language from Peru. And it's one of my lineages. And it's important to have Aini, right relationship. And I find that as there's another model that we're coming out of, which is victim consciousness, right? Which is victim, rescuer, perpetrator. And people that um coming out of that model might view a healer as a rescuer and then right and then themselves as on the victim corner and then they expect the rescuer to it's like just keep rescuing me like Jesus did, and it's like um no, like, because now we're stepping into sovereignty and we all have to take responsibility for our own healing journey. And just like you would honor somebody who baked a cake for you, you would give them some reciprocity for the materials and for their time. It's the same kind of thing. Just because it's energy healing doesn't mean it doesn't require reciprocity.
I agree. And that is something that nature taught me too, is right relationship. Give back what you receive. Make sure it's balanced. And that, I think, honestly, if there's one lesson that nature has really taught me and they want to emphasize, is exactly that. That is why nature right now isn't healthy, because the right relationship is not there. We, as humanity, we take too much, we ask too much, and then we never return our energy back as in gratitude. It's not hard to do. Same thing with people. And I completely agree. It is hard, especially if you come from teachings where you give and that is what you do. Like in my family, my mom is a giver and she taught me that. She says you give. And she never got anything in return. And unfortunately, she's ill from it. She has autoimmune issues, and that kind of goes back to responsibility of self-healing. And that's something that, as a practitioner myself, when I work with people, I really emphasize. I am a facilitator for certain things, but you also have a responsibility to do your own inner work, which is why bringing in tools for them to actually apply for themselves is so, so, so important.
Yeah, absolutely. This is why I teach as well, because I started off doing individual healing sessions and I started seeing patterns where, oh, like we're doing a healing session and it's good while my sort of love and energy lasted. But then if they're not cultivating, they're not taking that flame and stoking it, right, for themselves, then they're just going to come back a month later with, the same thing. So we have to take charge of our own healing path. It's really important. And I also love doing healing sessions. They're fantastic just because of the stuff that, the wisdom that comes through and the energy that comes through and the love and the grace that comes through is like, wow. I mean, there's nothing that beats that. And also teaching is cool because we get to share more people how to do this for themselves. And awesome. So I know that when we connected, I had our first conversation that we didn't record. So don't be looking for it, but we just had a private conversation about I had just been to the Smoky Mountains. And when I was with the mountains, I actually placed my hands on one of the trees before I left because I was like, I'm part Cherokee and I just wanted to connect with my ancestors and I wanted that connection to stay with me as I came home to Texas because I really just love it in the Smoky Mountains and I just want to take you home with me. And so I actually envisioned connecting through this tree. I had this vision of going down into the mycelial network and actually connecting through this underground network all the way to my house where it was like, yeah, we're there now. We're connected. I was like, I'm connected. This is so cool. Like it's here all the time now. And even though I'm in a place that is very different, but it has that connection under the ground. And I feel like that was powerful for me. And then they told me, oh, you need to go to Colorado, which my group is actually doing, and you need to wake the mountains up. And I was like, wake the mountains up. Okay. I was thinking, well, okay, I know I got initiated as an Ultima Sayuk by the Caro. So that's a mountain speaker, that's the one that talks to the mountains. And I thought, oh, like I'm actually going to do that now. Okay. I don't really know how to do that, but okay, I guess I'll figure it out. Is that kind of like the experience that you have, like when you get these messages? There's no like handbook or anything. I feel like.
Oh, I agree. I love the mountain story that you just shared because it coincides with the information I've been receiving too. And it's so funny. I just mill about my day doing my own stuff, and then all of a sudden, one of the beings of the land will be like, "Hey, I have something for you to share with the world." And so it's like tap, tap on the shoulder. And then they give me this message like, you need to wake the mountains up and like get other people to do it too. And I'm like, what? Okay, I can understand that. And the only reason that actually really resonated with me was because a couple of years ago, the trees said the same thing. Some of them are dormant. And I was like, I've never heard anybody say that before. And, there's not very many open tree talkers out there in the world. So I'm like, who do I talk to about this? I was like, I have to just trust the information I'm receiving and go with it. And so, yeah, it's like I wish we had a larger community of people that could be like, hey, this is what I'm getting. Sometimes our information doesn't match, and that's fine because we receive what we receive for a reason. But it really is a matter of trusting the divine, trusting in yourself in the end, because, yeah, there's no manual. And we're moving into new times where I feel like the energy is shifting so much that maybe some of the older ways of doing things might not be relevant in the future. I don't know. That's just something I'm receiving, is that things are going to look a little bit different, and really trusting the process and the information you're getting is going to be so important.
Yeah, I mean, I've often gotten the message that Western civilization on the planet, as it has been the last couple thousand years, is kind of like upside down world. And so we're switching to right side up. And in that process, there's things that I've already experienced are the exact opposite of what I thought. You know, whatever I was thinking was true in the upside down world, as I turned right side up, was the exact opposite. It's like two sides of a coin. And it's like, whoa, that is crazy that it's just the opposite of what I thought. And then to be so open, to be willing to expand into that new reality and see what it has to offer. And yeah, to trust the insights, because it's also like, I feel like it's also shifting your focus and softening things so that it's more, you're listening more to the nuances of things. Cause this is all, this doesn't scream and shout, right? Humans scream and shout.
Yep.
But most of nature is a whisper. Most of nature is soft. So in order to hear it, you do have to be more quiet.
Yep. Yes. Although once you really open up that space and attune yourself to that frequency of nature, sometimes the nature beings can be loud, where it's like, hold on, y'all, one at a time. So it can be loud, at least in my experience, but especially for those that are first starting out or learning and really trying to tune in, it is subtle. It's through the heart, it's through your subtle senses. And unless we can learn to quiet the mind and the body and feel comfortable feeling the things that are coming to us, I mean, that's really the only way to really tune into the land and the beings coming through.
And what are some affirmations that you've gotten that have helped you in that process? Because, you know, we all need those occasional undeniable, you can't make this up moments where you go, that was real. And you just know it. Like there's no going back. Once you know it, you know it. And it really helps you to walk your path. What are some of those moments that you've had?
Oh my goodness. So many. Okay, the first one was the cat, honestly. It was just one of those smack you in the face kind of moments because I could feel her energy in my system. And I hear voices in their own unique way. So I heard her own voice, and it's like everything in my body shifted. And I was like, I just know that that is the truth. And it's kind of like, this is how it works for me. It's like a warm liquid kind of feeling, energy kind of just flowing through me and filling up my heart. That's kind of my like, yes, this is the truth. This is accurate for you. So that was one. Communicating with the tree was one. And then we're going to go into the Bigfoot world,
Yeah, let's.
actually.
Let's.
The this was more of a yes, you can trust yourself moment because I didn't at first. I went with a group of people that were learning land healing techniques up in Glacier National Park in Montana. And I love that place. I grew up going there, so I'm pretty familiar with it. When we got there, we had this facilitator say, we're going to meet Bigfoot now. And I was like, okay, like, I don't know if I can go there, right? I mean, Bigfoot, I've lived in the Northwest for so long that you just stop believing in what people share all the time, you know? Maybe that's just a me thing, but so we sat down, we did a meditation in this group, and everybody is just sitting there so quietly and singing. They were really learning how to use their voice to let energy flow out. And I was like, I'm getting so much information right now. I pulled out my notebook and I was just writing. And that's how it works for me. When I channel it, I just write everything out. So I'm writing, I'm writing. I think I channeled 4 pages of information from this Bigfoot being. I was like, okay, this is what I got for the group. And everybody else in the group was just like, that was so nice. It was so calm. We just felt loved. And I was like, so I have this. And I kind of felt like a jerk because I was like, I don't know, I don't like to be the one that stands out ever. And so I was like, I have something for the group. And so I read it, and it was about how Bigfoot works for Gaia, and how they are portal jumpers, how they can go into different realms and worlds, work with healing frequencies, and how they were giving us an opportunity to receive a Bigfoot slash foresty attunement, which I channeled. And so I was just reading all of this stuff to the group, and they were like, oh my gosh, yes, I did experience this, or oh my gosh, yes, I did experience this. And so everybody in the group had experienced some portion of what I brought forward. And I thought, you can't make that up. And Bigfoot has such an intense earthly energy that, like, talk about Gaia energy. Bigfoot is Gaia energy all the way. And so that was one of the moments where I was like, yeah, yeah, this is all real. And this is all like my trajectory forward. And it just set my soul on fire, you know? So that was one of my big moments of transformation for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of an inner experience, isn't it? Because you feel the like insights and information comes through that you would never have from your own human perspective ever even would have known about. Like that's just not something that you would like it. I know it's real when I'm learning too. When it's coming through and I'm learning too, it's like, oh, that's real because there's no way I could have made that up.
That's how I feel too, where it's just like, I don't even understand the concept here because it's so big, or that's a new thing that I've never thought about. I mean, you talk about animals, they talked about, they actually taught me about past life regressions and walk-ins where they can leave their body and have a new spirit come in. And it's like, I'm sorry, what now? I need some verification that is external so I can see if anybody else has experienced this. And it's like when you're learning and receiving new concepts and expanding your awareness, it just makes the biggest difference, especially if there's somebody else out there that's like, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there definitely is confirmation of walk-ins and things like that. I
Mhm.
felt like I had experienced that too in a partial sense. Partial walk-in. I talked about that for a while, but then I stopped talking about it. But yeah, it's kind of like there's just an aspect of self that wasn't there before. You know, I had this experience in the jungle where this is a different experience, but I had this experience in the jungle where I had been, I guess, cultivating a relationship with jaguar. I mean, but like a specific jaguar. I didn't realize that I was actually cultivating a relationship with a specific jaguar, but I was by going down there so often. And then this last trip, that jaguar spirit actually merged with me. And it was such an interesting experience because it became physical the night before, like physical jaguar brushing its body against the tombo that I was lying in. And like I could feel it, I could hear it, I could feel its body pushing against the wall, I could feel it move under me. And it was a physical being. But then it became energetic the next night. And when I felt it merge in, it was like clearing all of this hoocha, like all this shadowy stuff inside of me that I had some moments of panic over because it was like, oh, there's a lot of shadow more. And I didn't realize I was so filthy on the inside. Like I didn't realize I needed so much cleansing. And it was like, wow, I'm just going to stay present with all this and not get scared. And when it finally finished clearing all that, it was like this total stillness. And the message was, because I was starting to feel bad, like, did you die so you could come over here? Oh my gosh, this is terrible. I was starting to feel bad about that. And this master was like, no, that's not how it works. Energies can move from form to form. Like energy it's not concerned with the vessel necessarily. It's just like moving from place to place, from vessel to vessel. It's a very neutral process. It doesn't, in that in that way, outside of human thinking about things, it's very neutral. Like it moves from body to body and it's okay. It doesn't need to be in a specific, it's us that get attached. We get attached, you know, like, no, this is me. And energy is not like that. It's not like this is me. Energy just is energy. It moves around. And these different my cat is being really engaged right now, you guys. So you'll be hearing little things in the background. That's my cat. That's Sensei. Sensei has joined the conversation. He
Well, that's
never does this,
appropriate.
by the way. Like never does this. But today he feels called. So yeah. So it was just a really interesting internal experience and about that, you know?
Yeah, and that's so interesting. I've had similar experiences. Actually, when I was little, kind of going back to my childhood, I would wander around the hallways of my house acting like a cougar, and I could feel the energy of cougar. I literally could feel my teeth grow and my eyes get bigger, and I was like, I am a legit cougar right now. And I didn't know that that was actual merging, you know? And so when I started in my studies in shamanism, I was like, oh my gosh, that's merging. That's actually a real thing. And then my cat came to me, that cougar that I was merging with. He was like, yeah, we were playing with our energy intentionally. Like we needed you to have that memory of it. And then bear started coming to me and whale. And it's been, oh, merging with animals is just incredibly powerful and cleansing. I love that you had an opportunity to move through some of your shadow work with the guidance of a cat. I mean, they're incredibly intuitive and magical beings, and you're right, we're the only ones that are attached to the physical. Neutrality is really, really important to remember when working with spirit and the beings of the land, because they're not attached to much, really, in the end.
Well, and just before we go, because we're getting close to the top of the time, but I'm so curious about because yeah, animal merging completely. How have you what have you gotten about mountain waking mountains up? Like what are some message like how do you wake a mountain up? You sing to it, you place intention on it, you because it's hard to touch it, you know, because you're kind of
Sure.
it's big. So how do you
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah, well, the wonderful thing about energy is that it moves, right? You don't have to be there physically. If you have a mountain that you love that's in a different country, you can assist it, or if you can physically see one. What the mountains have shared with me is that it's all about intention. And so, whatever you, as your unique individual holding your own magic and medicine within yourself, get called to do, is going to be enough, as long as it is coming from a place of love, integrity, and intention, right? So if you feel like you want to go sing and belt out something beautiful for the mountain with the intention of helping it wake up, it will get done. If you want to create some kind of nature grid with stones and ferns and leaves and flowers, you know, get really creative in the process. Again, intention will be infused and it will activate not only the land, but the mountain. What else can you do? Is there anything else that you specifically want? Mountains? They're so in love with this conversation and they're saying thank you for continuing to spread that. Trees too, just send love, give them your heart. And heart math is a whole thing, but our energy through our heart is our point of connection. So just giving love, giving gratitude, and acknowledging that they are sentient beings in their own way. That's really just step one, just recognizing them, and the energy will go where it needs to go and activate what it needs to activate.
Beautiful. I love it. And more to be discovered because it's
Yeah.
in the act of doing, it's in the act of making ourselves available for it that is going to be the unveiling, the revealing, you know, and it might show up differently for all of us. So I'm excited to actually go there. We're going to the Rocky Mountains first week in October. And I'm like, okay, we're going to do this. This is great. I can't wait to see what happens. Awesome. So I loved this conversation with you and I could have many, many more. Um, is there anything that you want to leave people with? I know that you teach classes and I know that your website is deeprootconnections.com. for people interested in learning from you. I assume you're teaching how to communicate with all forms of nature, animals and plants and all kinds of things, right? So anything you want to leave people with on our way out?
Sure. I would just say if you're curious and aren't really sure where to start, the first place to start is going within and connecting in with your heart. And I do have online programs that can help you with that, and the most insanely beautiful community of people that are curious and expanding their connections with nature and animals together. So reach out to me, let's connect, and yeah, just go get your feet dirty, reconnect with the land and the trees. They really, really, really want that connection with humanity.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Kara. So please like, subscribe, share this episode out with anybody that you think could benefit from what we talked about today. And let's give kisses. I always give people kisses on the way out. So here they come, everybody. Thank you for staying till the end of the broadcast to get those kisses. I know that's why you stay. Here they come, everybody. Love you so much. You can join me if you want, Kara, if you want to give some. We love you. I hope you have a beautiful week. We'll see you next time on Soul Nectar Show. Bye for now.
If you found even one gold nugget in this episode of Soul Nectar Show, will you do us a favor? Will you subscribe, like, and share this episode? Maybe even write a comment and let us know what you thought about it. We really, really want to engage with you at a much deeper level. Let's be part of community together. Have a great week, everyone. Bye for now. To dive in deeper to nourishing conversation, visit soulnectar.show.
Soul Nectar Show. Awaken, awake to show. Take a sip from the drip of nectar, from the source of who you are. Soul Nectar Show. Yeah, yeah.